Lord.
Thanks, George, for
Okay.
keeping us on track.
Thanks, Jared. Um,
Friday.
I just want to talk about Nazi buttons. Okay. So, it's springtime for Hitler in Germany. So I've posted in the assignments section. Let me get there. Share screen. In the assignments section, there's a link to, and the assignment is solve the missing locksmith. There's a link to this itch.io page. No, not that. This, the missing locksmith. Um, it is an ARG. Uh, it's basically a zip file with pictures of a lot of documents. Um, all you need to play it is the files, a web browser, and an email account. It was released 3 days ago. I have not played this, so we're either going to find out it's great or it's not great or it's somewhere in between. Probably somewhere in between. She is a little indie developer. I think it will make her day to get 50 downloads of her little indie game that she put up there 3 days ago. So please go download it. There. The other thing is I've made a text channel in the Discord called Locksmith Arg, um, where you can talk about it. And I intend to uh, download it and say, if I solve something, I will tell you how I solved it there. If you solve something, tell me how you solved it. If we're on there together, maybe we can figure something out together. Um, it should be a community effort. So don't toil away on your own. It should be fun. Uh, Chat. I see somebody in the chat. My screen sharing is paused. Where's Alt H? Oh, I can't see the chat. Okay, I'm going to stop the share so I can see the chat. Should I make a voice channel too? Okay. Let's see. I'm in 4 p.m. I will make a voice channel. Uh, Locksmith Arg. Okay, there's now a voice channel for it too. Yes. So it's designed. It was designed for her friends and family as a kind of Easter egg hunt for Easter. So I don't expect it to take that long. It's supposed to be an Easter egg hunt. So, and that should also be a good introduction to what an ARG is, and suggestions for how we make an ARG entirely online. Because in the past, I have played ARGs entirely online, but they are generally, they have an in life component. They thrive on meetups where we have a place and a time and players meet and something happens, kind of thing, or they find something. And that's one thing we can't do, the real world meetup. But we can do online meetups and online find stuff online. So let's see how she does it and see if we can find any lessons. I have it set as due Tuesday. That's just because I want to talk about it on Tuesday when we get back. So if we don't get through it, we don't get through it. I don't think it'll be that hard. Second, there is no class on Monday. So it is Patriots Day. It is a state holiday if you're not in Massachusetts. It was previously Bunker Hill Day. where we won the Battle of Bunker Hill. Although it was actually April 19th was the Battle of Lexington and Concord. So maybe it's celebrating that, but whatever. And of late, it has been the running of the Boston Marathon. Um, yeah. So yeah, scenes in Rhode Island. You don't have the day off. Welcome to Massachusetts. We have the day off. And mostly it was because in Boston, everybody went to the running of the Boston Marathon, or the entire city is closed down for the Boston Marathon. I guess the Boston Marathon isn't being run this year. I don't know. I haven't followed it. There are no sports nowadays, right? Um, Postponed. Okay. Um, so uh, the but we still have the day off. So if you show up on Monday for class, I won't be here. That is working as intended. Uh, I will still post the new quiz, the reading quiz for next week on Monday, and the D&D adventure is due Monday night at midnight, and the web page is due Tuesday at midnight. Still going with that. This was a planned holiday, no matter what. So okay, just think if there had been no global pandemic, next week would have also been project presentation day, where all the seniors present their MQPs, and then we would have had one more week, and then it would be summer. How do you do a web page, Stanley? This isn't really a class about making web pages, but I would suggest you go to Wix or Weebly or Squaresoft or even Tumblr. WPI has a portfolio type of page too from Su Yi. Any of those places use the templates that are on offer, and basically you drag and drop Squarespace, not SoftSpace, Squaresoft. Okay, yeah, thanks, Zach. Squarespace, I don't know. There are lots of them. Look for free Google free web page, right? And put one together using the graphics that you've made up. Su Yi has posted that. Karen, can you post that that link in the Discord too? So that there are lots of places that give you tools. If you're asking about how to make a web page, it's clear you haven't started a portfolio yet, so you should start your portfolio. This is by your fourth year, you should have a web page that potential employers can go to see your work, right? And this is one page of that. It's not for the ARGs, Karen. It is for the D&D thing.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. So Su Yi uses the WPI one since it's pretty basic, and they don't have many coding skills. So you don't need. I've thrown together stuff in minutes on Tumblr that looks pretty decent. I've also played with Wix. Is Weebly still a thing? Weebly.
Yes. Do you have a
Weebly is
problem
still a
with
thing.
WordPress? Is there?
WordPress also is
I know
another
WordPress
one.
at WPI was a problem, but I found WordPress from home was not as bad as trying to do it through WPI.
Yeah, I guess what? I'm not at WPI.
Yeah, me neither.
so um, so I will be able, like, for a while they were here, I'll share this. So 36% of the web is built on WordPress. uh, this is basically, you can start your website just by clicking on the button. There's all sorts of things. um, uh, Start a portfolio. Steps to building a complete, no, uh,
And I shall take over the world.
uh, uh, start an, let's say, an art portfolio. How to make a portfolio, WikiHow. How to make an awesome art portfolio for college or university. Start a design portfolio. How to start building up your design portfolio. 12 best graphic design portfolios we've ever seen. 4 easy steps to create a beautiful design portfolio. There's lots of help on the web. So check it out. Look around there. Oh yeah, use the student Adobe kit. Adobe Portfolio can be great too. I know that the art team does portfolio reviews. They were supposed to have a big portfolio day where you bring in your portfolio at the beginning of this term, but it all went kerflooey. I don't know if they still had it or what, for the artists. Mostly for writing, it's writing samples that are in your writing portfolio, and they should be short, and you should have a drama and a comedy, and you should be able to read them uh, in one quick sitting. You know, um, it's less a portfolio than writing samples for writers. Designers um, can show off the games they've designed, and tech people, it's a little harder. They're usually showing off systems or actually bits and pieces of code, um, and that are interesting somehow. I honestly don't know that much about it. I'm not a coder, but talk to your CS IMGD people about building a tech portfolio. But essentially, everyone by the time they're a senior should have an IMGD portfolio that they can show to potential employers. Okay, so is that all the business? That's all the business. And it's 4:20. Woo, 4:20. Actually, it's 4:21 now. So on yesterday, I had talked about the Stanley Parable. I want to move on. One of the things I had hit on, and I want to talk about that a bit, is here. There is how I said that Stanley Parable came out the same time as Gone Home. Stanley Parable was accepted and lauded. Gone Home was ragged on. At the same time, another game in this genre, so to speak, came out, called Dear Esther. And I'm going to share the sound this time. Share. Here's my Steam. And let's play it. You got sound?
Yes.
Okay.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and carves parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
So that's a game called Dear Esther. It came out. Let's see. Let me look it up because it is the game that started a genre, right? Dear Esther in Wikipedia. Don't ever use Wikipedia as a source, except it was released in 2008 as a mod for the Source engine, and then came out in 2012, a year before Stanley Parable came out commercially, featuring minimalist gameplay, blah 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 blah, and came out in Unreal, and then in 2017, an updated version, the Landmark Edition, was released based on the Unity engine. Okay. So they released this one 3 times, right? One as a mod, one as a commercial engine in 2012, and finally as a Unity game. This one was also, all you do is walk around. And you could see you heard from the preview. Any ideas on what the story is? Something about being a boat with a paper boat with no bottom. When I see you again, blah blah. I don't know. So here's the thing: Stanley Parable and Gone Home are actually quite small, kind of corridory games, right? Stanley certainly is about walking down corridors. Whenever it expands, nothing much happens, or the narrator keeps talking to you while you're in an area until you go through a doorway, and then the state changes. And yes, Stanley, Dear Esther seems more open world, but what it is a path that then opens out, right? So you might be along a mountainside on a small path, and then you get to a beach, and you can wander around on the beach. And while you're at the beach, if you think about it as just a wider path, right? The way it worked is it had trigger points. And this is the way Stanley and all of them work, is that that when you cross a certain threshold, a new voiceover plays, whatever file that is that the voiceover is recorded in. Uh, but Stanley Parable, the way, or not Stanley Parable, Dear Esther, the way it worked is that you walked along the path, and so you were definitely going to hit whichever trigger was along the path, because there was no way you could not hit it, right? But once you got to the beach and it widened out, there were triggers that you could not hit. And those triggers were considered non-essential. So you could potentially, if you walked like along the water line, you could miss some of the triggers, some of the voice that was up near the weeds, the reeds on the beach, and vice versa, right? So if there were 5 trigger points in the beach area, you might only hit 2, right? The thinking was that those triggers, those voice things, were not essential. Only the ones on the path were essential. So theoretically, you could avoid all the ones in the wider areas and just hit the ones on the path. But in the ones in the wider areas deepened and filled out the story. Problem being, they also put all those non-essential things into a kind of bin. And then when you hit a trigger, it would roll a random number and play you that one. So you might get voiceover 15 before you get voiceover 4, right? So you've got story bit 15 and you haven't heard story bit 4. So it was disjointed and out of order and out of time. And they certainly didn't tell you which ones were essential and which ones were non-essential. Cave scene reminded me of something you'd see in Skyrim, but with better graphics. It's actually older than Skyrim. Yes. Why? Yeah, it is not lighthearted. So the other thing about Dear Esther is you're on an island, right? And first thing I do, you wake up on the beach. The game starts, you're on the beach. So, of course, like any idiot playing any game, first thing I do is wander into the ocean, right? Yes, that version is newer than Skyrim. You are correct. But the game itself is much older than Skyrim. So I figure, how do I die? What happens? And it just faded to black and put you back on the beach, I think. Either that or it rubber banded me back to the beach. I don't remember. So I couldn't die, right? Then there are cliffs about the island. And again, like any idiot game player, I tried to jump off the cliffs to see what would happen. And you can't. There are invisible walls around the cliffs. So first off, there's a whole diatribe about invisible walls in games and how they are they're not player friendly, right? You don't like hitting invisible walls. I don't like hitting invisible walls. It just says you are in a game. So I can't jump off cliffs. I can't drown myself. Basically, I can't kill myself in any way throughout the game. And I'm going to spoil this game. It is a bad game. Don't play it unless you want to look at pretty things. I don't know. I don't care. It's really old. If you haven't played it by now, you're not going to play it. You notice at the end there was that blinky that blinky light, that is throughout. Here, I'll share screen again. Here, share. Oh no, not that. Let me, come on, where is it? You see it throughout the game. There it is. That's at the beginning. A lot of times you see this blinky red, radio tower light. It's beckoning you. It's what we call a weenie. It's the thing that you try and get to because it looks interesting. And lo and behold, it is the final destination of the game. You get to that thing and you climb up it. And in the course, I honestly, I don't remember the story of Dear Esther. It's something about how you and Esther, your relationship broke up. Possibly Esther died because through your fault. But in the end, you get to the top, you climb that tower, and you jump off it, and you commit suicide. And I was like, geez, I tried to commit suicide in the first 2 minutes of this game, and you wouldn't let me. Why? So they're telling me the only way to commit suicide is the way they want me to, the way the story wants me to. And then instead of actually, jumping off and going kerthunk, crack, and bleeding all over the ground, you actually turn into a bird. You fly across the ocean, right? Which glorifies suicide. So I'm not especially happy about that, because don't want to do that. And gives you that kind of metaphorical, well, once you jump, you'll turn into a bird and you'll be one with nature and blah, blah. No, you'll be dead, right? So so I have all sorts of problems. I spoil this game all the time because I don't think anybody should play it. I think it's terrible. But no one had any problem with it when it came out. Again, it is a walking simulator where you walk around, and you hear voice clips while looking at pretty scenery. Once again, what's the difference? You're playing a man as opposed to a woman. And in Gone Home, they piled on to Gone Home because you're playing a woman and the story is about lesbians. And there's only one man, and well, there are two men. One is your uncle, one is your father. That's it. Oh my God, a world where men don't matter. Must be a bad game. So that's my diatribe about Dear Esther. I'll probably, if you take level design, I'll probably make you listen to it again. So getting back to, oh geez, it's late as usual. Dr. Langeskov. Dr. Langeskov, the tiger, the terribly cursed emerald. Who's Dr. Langeskov? What does the tiger have to do with it? And where's the terribly cursed emerald? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody know anything about Dr. Langeskov? The tiger? The tiger is in the bin.
Tracy says the tiger's in the bin.
Yes, the tiger is in the bin. We hear the tiger. Do we know anything about Dr. Langeskov? I don't remember seeing anything about it. Don't remember hearing anything about the emerald. But presumably that's what we're there to steal, because it is a whirlwind heist. Is the other player supposed to be Dr. Langeskov? No. I don't know. It's a gag. One player at a time. So they apparently have terrible servers to only allow one player at a time. Yes. So here we go. amazingly, the creators of Stanley Parable, one of the creators, um, made another game imagining being backstage at a video game, right? So, yes, uh, we are never in the real game with Dr. Langeskov. Dr. Langeskov is in the real game, maybe. Yes. Maybe you play as Dr. Langeskov, but you're a player. We don't know. Uh, um, but we imagined the the a video game as a kind of stage play, right? Where uh, we can only accommodate one player at a time, so bad servers, um, and there's an entire host of people working to create the experience for that player, which, metaphorically speaking, is true, right? It's just time shifted, right? So there is a whole host of people, artists and producers and managers and coders who make all the things work, um, just not at the same time as it's actually happening, right? So yes, Griffin, it is like an elaborate haunted house. It's a stage play. Um, so we have in this game um, two things. One, more than one player has arrived, and you are the second player, and uh, the all the people who would normally make this thing work have gone on strike for bad working conditions, and uh, you are tasked, right, with making all the things work for the other player so that they progress through the game and you get to play the game. Um, so uh, uh, I don't know. Did you guys play around with doing what the narrator or the stage manager wanted you to do or not doing? Uh, Apparently, lag and glitches are just people messing around, not doing things behind the stage. Yes, absolutely. Su Yi found the pretzel. I found one pretzel. I had no idea there were pretzels in there. I just in the last hour looked up what all the achievements were. There are a lot of pretzels in that game. I found a guide to all the pretzels. There are a lot of pretzels. There, I tried picking up all the change. You get um, you get an achievement for getting all the money, and I was sure I got all the money. I did not. I did not get all the money because I didn't get the achievements. Suyi was leaving crumbs everywhere. Yeah. Also, the orange achievement, steal an orange. If you get enough money, I think it's from the first 2 or 3 rooms, you can go back to the soda machine, and actually then you have enough money to buy a soda. And if you buy the orange soda, you get an achievement. So there's that. Uh, we still had kind of Stanley Parable stuff where the narrator, the stage manager would react to things you did. So there was one point where I got on top of the tables, and he's like, "Oh, you're on top of the table, huh? There's no point to being on. Could you? We need those tables. Could you get off those tables?" And then I got off the tables. He's like, "Oh, thank God!" And then I immediately got on. "Oh, you're on top of the table again." Yeah, the table is very funny. Um, I enjoyed it because you feel seen, right? You feel like, oh, he knows. He knows I'm on the table. It's not just pre-recorded. Um, uh, the other thing is turning off all the lights. Get you an achievement. Um, and then getting all the achievements gets you an achievement, which doesn't make sense because you can't have that last achievement until you get all the achievement, but you can't get all the achievements until you have that last achievement. Okay, so in all, this is a 15-20 minute game that's one idea, that the idea that a game is like a stage play and you have to make it work, right? Because in the end, when you finally get to go on into the game itself, it fades to black and the tiger kills you, right? Oh, spoiler. You should have all played this. It's 15 minutes. It's cute. It's funny. It's not very deep. But it's free. So the price is right. If we move on to the beginner's guide. Okay, beginner's guide. Davey Reedon. Is Coda real? No. Ben says no. No. I'm gonna. Beginner's guide, is Coda real? Amazingly, beginner's guide, Coda. So, Coda is not seen or heard. Mental health, gender, meaning of the name, theories. The internet has theories. There was an article at the time this was published that says that I forget where it happened, but it was a guy who was like, I think I might be Coda. I'm not sure. Because I met Davey back in 2006 at this game jam, and I was making a lot of games, and I think I might be Coda. And there was no response, and it went away. So Coda may or may not be real, but for the purposes of us, let's say he's not. You seem clear that he's not. No one has ever credibly stepped forward and said, I'm Coda. Is Davey Reedon real? Suyi says, I would hope so. What do you think? Is he real? Yes, says Zach. Okay. So certainly we can look up Davey Reedon. We can find pictures of Davey Reedon. Is the Davey Reedon of the beginner's guide a real person who I would, so let's just say the Davey Reedon of the beginner's guide may or may not be the same Davey Reedon who created Stanley Parable. But certainly it is a fictionalized version of him, because if Coda isn't real, then all the things that Davey Reedon is saying that Davey Reedon did with Coda aren't real. So he's a fictionalized version of Davey Reedon. And there's a long tradition of authors putting themselves in their own works. I mean, Stephen King is in the Dark Tower saga. They go visit him, the gunsslayer. Um, it could relate to a real experience, yes, that Davy Reedon had. It certainly speaks to the responsibility or the relationship between a creator and uh, their audience. What is the responsibility of an audience to the creator? Even addresses issues around fan fiction, right? When I take your world, your characters, your ideas, and add stuff to it, is that right or wrong? The whole thing just seemed kind of forced to me. I couldn't tell if it was trying to be funny or not, and if it was, I didn't find it so. Coda could also be part of the real Davy Reedon, sure. Certainly, there's one of the games where it seems like they're dealing with the effects of fame on a creator, right? So if we look at Davy Reedon, the Stanley Parable came out in 2012. This came out in 2015, and I'll just tell you, I looked up what has Davy Reedon done since 2015. He has been working on yet another version of the Stanley Parable, called the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, where the description says Ultra Deluxe will contain the entire Stanley Parable exactly as you originally played it. However, we are adding a whole bunch of new content on top of it, interwoven with the content from the original game. Some of it is entirely new endings. Some of it is content interspersed between the endings. All in all, the new script is shaping up to be roughly half the length of the script from the original game. So I assume it's half again as much. They're not taking away half. They're adding a 50% more. This was supposed to come out in 2019, and they have it crossed off. And oops, sorry, I bumped my mic. And now they're saying coming 2020. They have 2019 crossed out in 2020. Crows made Temple of No. Crows is the other guy, the Dr. Langeskov guy, and they've come out with a bunch of VR stuff, which I haven't played because I don't have a VR rig, and VR makes me sick. And they've come out with this MMO, not really an MMO, this shared virtual space that you can go, and it's like a club, and you can hang out there. I spent an afternoon looking at it and going, what the heck? It's like a chat room, but it's you have a boxy, it looks like you have an avatar that you wander around. I don't know. It's a something. Look at the Crows website. I went and hung out there, and it was just a lot of techno music and weird lighting in a virtual space. The club, yeah. So, where? Oh, geez, I'm over time. So I would say that Beginner's Guide has characters. Stanley Parable has the narrator is certainly has things that happen, but doesn't feel like a person, feels like a device. Stanley is an empty suit for you to inhabit, whereas Davy Reedon and Coda are real characters especially Davy, grows and changes, he has a tragic arc. Um, this is a tragedy. He has hubris. He has a moment of recognition that everything that is bad about this is his fault. He has a reversal where he goes, "Oh my God, I thought I was helping, and I've been hurting all along." It's very clear that his his character changes in the course of the game. That said, it's also interesting that the character itself finished, and then decided to put out the beginner's guide as a work, right? To take you on that journey, which says it's a fictionalized journey, right? Because if you really went on that journey and realized, if you were Davy Reedon, that, oh my God, it was me all along, maybe you wouldn't put that out, right? So I am going to be finishing up the beginner's guide on Sunday at 3. So come to my stream. I'll post it on the Discords, and chat with me as I finish it. And other than that, have a great weekend. And we'll start on ARGs next week. Okay. Yay, Friday. Bye-bye.